Okay guys, Nick Panther, bass fisherman for Sea Angling Adventures. I did say on Facebook last night that I was going to do a video on the new bait delivery system from Tronix. Okay, some of you know that a few years back this used to be called the device. Slightly different design, but basically all the same. This is so well made, it's unreal. I absolutely love these things. I was so happy when these came back on the market, and I'm going to show you today a couple of variations with this, because I was asked quite a few questions last night, and I'll try to answer them as best I can, but I thought it'd be easier if I show you. Oh, this is it. You have three types of these now, weight wise. You've got the ones with the blue beads. Don't know if you can see that. It's hard balancing them on the rocks. That's a 4-ounce one. The one with the yellow bead is the 5-ounce. And the one with the red bead is the 6-ounce. Okay? Perfectly made. Now, you know, years ago, this used to be called the device. Slightly different design. These are made so well. Before, the wire used to come outside of the tube and in the tube, as if it was weaved in and out. This is all built in. It's got its own little runner inside. So delivering live bait at distance. So the way we do that is to head hook 3 or 4 ragworm, drop them in, coil the trace up, put the trace in. So this is basically hanging off the end of your leader. Upon Sea Angling Group Adventures page last night, I was asked a couple of questions about this, which I'm going to answer for you now. And they were quite intelligent questions. One of them said to me about this acting like a lead lift. Well, it does. Now, I don't know if you remember the original device. It was cut at a slightly sharper angle. So what I've done, I've cut one at an angle like so. Now, the reason for doing this is when I'm fishing at the Bristol Channel, which is a rough ground area, as you well know, at a distance with a bait put in the pod. Don't need to be ragworm, it could be squid, sand eel, bluey, anything, as long as it fits in that. Once you start reeling in, the angle that's cut at catches the water, it basically brings it straight up. And as you're reeling in, it will bounce across the surface towards you. It's a really good way of getting your gear back, because as you know, with rough ground, you fish rotten bottom, you can lose a lot of gear, you know, and this, I'm not saying it cures it, but it does help to get your gear back a very high percentage of the time. So guys, the Tronix bait delivery system. Now, as some of you might do with your leads, like I do, love the way these wires are so long. I think it just gives added grit on the seabed. But what I do, I bend the wire over, only about 1/4 of an inch, so when it's on the seabed it digs right in, be it sand, shingle, and it holds it there. It stops it rolling in the surf. Apart from bending the wires over, another thing I do with one of these is I'll take the wires out completely. Now, the reason for that being, if I'm fishing on a surf beach, and like I've explained before about the length of pulley rigs, short, medium and long, if you want the actual rig to move around, that's perfect, because you can put a really long trace line in there with a sand eel and blast that out, and that will roll around the gully, and your bait is in the gully or up on the side of the bank. It's just a different variation. I'm not saying it's going to make the catch rate any different. I just like to try different things, but I must admit, Tronix have come up with a beauty here, and I'm really glad that this is back on the market. The next thing we're going to do is that we've got one set up on my rod. I've got some lovely live bait here, ragworm, beautiful ragworm from Seaview Angling, fresh this morning. I'm going to bait a rig up, drop it in and show you exactly how we pack it in, ready to cast out and hopefully to get a fish. It's about 4 head hook ragworm. Okay, so what I'm going to do is drop this into the tube. As you can see, it sits right down inside. And then what I'm going to do, coil the loops of your trace nice and tight, and then put this inside the tube. So what you end up with is a fully loaded bait tube. Just one thing left to do, guys. That's to get over there, cast this one out. Hopefully I won't crack off. There's every chance that could happen. And we'll deliver this one, hopefully, might even get a fish. You never know. Right, as you see, I've just cast out well over 100 yards, guys, no problem. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to leave it out there, I'm going to read it straight in so you can see that the trace has come out of the tube. So just give me a minute because like I nearly emptied the 6.5. That's the Tronix bait delivery system. And if you're wondering that when the line is inside the tube and the bait, how it gets ejected, right in here on the head of the weight are 3 flutes. It's quite a gap. You see it better when you look through the tube. Okay, so get out and buy some and you'll see exactly what it's like when you use it. It's absolutely brilliant, okay? The water rushes up there, ejects the bait. You got live bait on the floor out there, hopefully where the bass or even the plaice are. Didn't really get a chance to explain everything on the beach or even show you in close-up, so I'll give you an idea exactly what I mean now. If you take a look inside this flute, as you look down the tube you can see 3 holes at the bottom, and the 3 holes is where the water rushes up as it hits the water, and there's 3 on there. This is the 6-ounce version. Very, very sturdy breakout wires on these. Absolutely excellent. As you can see, they take some pulling, but they do release. Now, as we showed you today on the beach, basically we loaded one of these up, these bait delivery systems. We put the ragworm in, coiled the trace up, I cast it out, and basically we reeled in right away so you could see with the underwater camera that the actual bait had ejected from the pod. I've used this now. When it first came out it was known as the device, and I used these for the first time ray fishing. And what we were doing, we were head hooking just at the back of the neck the sand eel, putting the sand eel in the tube, coiling the trace up, putting the trace in. Now basically the setup of this, which I will show you in a moment, is like a running ledger. But the beauty of this, even with all live baits, right, the live sand eel and the ragworm that I used, we could power cast this with confidence, knowing that we could get in excess of 120 yards no problem, and then the live bait would eject from the tube. Couldn't really odds it, because putting a live sand eel out at distance on a really long flowing trace with the movement in the gullies of the sand eel trying to swim, we caught, our catch rate went up basically, that'd be the best way to tell you. Our catch rate went up for rays. I use these at several beach marks and they paid dividends for us. What I have used this for recently is for plaice fishing, because I actually find it's a big bonus to be able to put a live bait out on a shingle beach, on a sandy beach, wherever you go place fishing to, having that live bait on the bottom moving, I just think it attracts the fish. It's a really good idea. It's a good innovation. I'm really super glad that this is back on the market, and the way this is designed inside, it's solid. So really, to put power into this when you're casting, it's just going to be effortless. Now I'm going to go through some different methods on how to use this bait delivery system. You can use this on a pulley rig, and there's two ways of doing that. You can clip onto this one and your trace goes straight into the tube. There's nothing wrong with having a decent trace out in the tide, and that is your weight anchored. The other way is an up and over rig. The same sort of effect, up over the top, down into the tube with your bait, and you can launch that. My favourite way of using this is off a pulley rig, and I'll explain why. With a pulley rig, with your hook, sometimes I will clip it onto here. The weight clip will go onto there. Then I'll put the pulley over, bring him down, clip him onto the imp, pack this solid with bits of cut up sand eel, maybe chopped up mackerel, maybe some lug chopped up, pack it really tight. So you've got your bait above it, not in the tube. This basically becomes like a feeder, like the sort of things the freshwater guys use when they put all the bait around the outside of the feeder and they cast it out. So if you're fishing for place, it's ideal. Little chopped up pieces in the tube. All you do, fire it out as far as you can. That ejects all the spare bait that you've cut up and put in there and lays on the bottom, and your worm bait or your sand eel, the worm bait would go in with it, the sand eel would be clipped on, that would be away from the bait, and that would attract the fish, hopefully. That's another way of using it. I wouldn't say it's complicated, it's quite easy once you start practicing. I'm now going to show you my favourite way of using this bait delivery system. So what I've done, to make it easier for you, this is a bit of 80-pound shock leader, so imagine this is your main line. So that will come through this one, on with a bead, on with a bead, and then one of these. This is a 100-pound swivel. So we'll tie that. Four times around, back through. And you might have noticed that I've still got my thummy on my thumb from today when we went out earlier. Now that's how you attach it to your main line. Obviously the bead is there to protect the knot. That's a 100-pound swivel. So off this Gemini, make these by the way guys, alright, absolutely brilliant swivel, 100-pound breaking straight, perfect for guys like me that can cast. Then we got a Cox and Roll, size 1 specimen hook on a really long flowing trace. Okay, and that is basically attached to your swivel. I'll do this as fast as I can for you. 4 times, right? It's basically the same way as if you were tying a hook on, guys, alright? That's all. Right, so there you have it. Okay, that's as simple as that. This is your main line. There's your trace. 1 bead, 1 swivel. All the way down to your Cox and Roll size 1 specimen hook. Now I'll show you how you load the tube up. Imagine now 4 or 5 head up ragworm on there. So what you do, drop it in the tube, coil this up. Whoa. This is about a 5-foot trace, guys. That goes in the tube. and that's how it sits. That's basically what you're hanging off your rod tip. This is your main line, your leader to your reel. Trust me guys, you can wind that up for a power cast with ragworm inside, alive, 4 or 5 of them if you want. Fire that out to your favourite place mark, and those ragworm will be moving around on the bottom at a distance that you could not get without using one of these bait delivery systems. Okay guys, you've seen how simple it is to put one of these together. Sweet and easy. Now we're going to try and show you how effective it can be. So back to the beach to Andy.
Okay then, I'm going to do a basic rig the same as Nick Panther here now. I've got a trace around 5 foot, which I've tied on to a long range power worm hook from the Coxswain Rural range, size 1. So I've got that one there, attached to 20 pound fluorocarbon. So then what I've got here now is some live ragworm, fresh from Seaview Angling, and I'm going to thread one worm straight onto the shank of my hook, as so. So I've got one worm completely up, as we got there now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread up another worm as well. So we're at the moment down on B Sands Beach, as Nick's just said, and we're just going to put them out to see if we can pick anything up on them. You will see next year when we're out on the beaches using these devices with the old ragworm target in place. So I've got 2 up there, which have gone up the line. Now I've got 2 ragworm here now, and all I'm going to do there is head hook these, as so. And that's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to go over there now and tie this on to the bait delivery system itself, and fingers crossed we can pick something up along this stretch of coastline here today. So on my first rod, I've got a gripper one of these now. So basically on one of the other ones I'm using, I've took away the grip leads, so I've got that it's going to roll around as a bomb lead, bit of movement with my trace. So onto the fixed one, I'm going to tie this on now. So it's actually the same as Nick's shown you on the rig clinic. Simple running lead. Got my Coxswain Rural power swivel. So I'm going to tie on the 20 pound fluorocarbon, as so. And there it is, all ready to be bait. Put inside the capsule now, and cast it out, and fingers crossed get a fish. So we'll go and put this one into the delivery system now. So before I do this now, we'll trim off the extra bit of line, put that one straight in my pocket so I don't leave it on the beach. And then I'm going to loop up my trace line. So all I'm doing is basically looping up my line as so. Looping and looping and looping. Just like that. So now I'm going to put the rag straight into the bait delivery system. With what I've got with a line now, I'm going to put down through into the top. And don't forget, I don't want to pack that straight down. All I want to do is make sure the worm is completely inside this little capsule here, like so. So with that all ready to go now, as Nick talked about already, you've got these 3 flues underneath on the lead itself. So as this gets out, hits the water travels up through these flues, which ejects the bait and hopefully allows a long flowing trace on the seabed. Ideal for place, to be fair, especially with ragworm. As we said before, keeps a live bait, enables you to whack it as hard as you can and stops the bait from blowing. So we'll get him out now. So the first rig's gone out. All I've done is let it sink to the bottom. Hopefully the bait's ejected out. And then what I've done is allowed it to settle, and then I've just wrung it back at a rod length. Hopefully meaning then the worm bait's far away from the lead, and I've set the rig accordingly. Fingers crossed now, just waiting for that fish to come along, pick the bait up, and fingers crossed we can get something on this today.
We've baited up, ready. Got some prime ragworm and we got some prime frozen baits. We're going to use different baits in these tubes to show you exactly what you can put out at distance. It's not all about putting live ragworm out and the live eel, if you can get hold of live sand eel. It's about delivering bait at distance. This is what this is all about, and that's why we're here today.
So I've got another one here, but I've got the 6-ounce version, but we've took the grips out of it to give it a bit more movement. So I'm going to blast into the horizon now, and fingers crossed we can see a fish on one of these 2 rigs out today. So, exactly the same again, blasted into the horizon, let it sink down to the bottom, settle, pull back, so as the bait's ejected, obviously they've got the flowing trace then, which moved away as I've been pulling back away from the lead to leave my bait well away from the lead, obviously flapping around in the tide. Bit of more movement with that because it's not a gripper. Out of the 2, I think this will be the one that will find the fish. Covering more ground and movement, exactly what the place want. High tide is about to approach within half hour, so we've got all chances. The only thing I can say is it's not the time of year really, but I would like to see a place out. I don't see it happening very much, but might get a whiting, might get a dogfish, but anything really just to show how these capsules are working. But I know they work, we've used them in the past. I think the new ones are very much improved, and yeah, looking forward to seeing the outcome. First bait's out there. What do you reckon then, guys? Very flat.
Well, it'd be nice if we could get a fish just to show them that the delivery system works. But like I say, it's a transitional period now, isn't it, between the summer species really and the autumn species going out and the winter fish turning up. So
it's quite mild still though. Over the last week it's still been quite warm in the daytimes. That's one thing I'm hoping for.
I've just had a thought as well, guys. There's every chance we could pick a dab up here.
There is every chance we can pick one up.
I've just realised that.
Yes, there is.
Most of the whiting feed at night, you do get them during the day, but it's normally a little pin whitings. But yeah. All we can do is try for Sea Angling Adventures. We do go out and do the business, yes, but we can't always guarantee that we can show you fish.
It's just part of fishing though, isn't it? It goes to show. It's just one of those things. If we can pull a dogfish out here today on one of these devices,
Yeah.
I'll be more than pleased. It's because the venue, especially the venue we're at, it's not the.
Well, B Sands, I think, is normally known for a nighttime venue.
Yes,
Same as Slapton, All Sands.
However, if we don't catch, I think it's important to share that with the viewers that, you know, there is a lot of times where you go out and put a lot of blank sessions. Rob said that this morning, didn't he?
100%, yeah.
You know, where, you know, and that man, he's put some serious time into his fishing, and you know, 70% of it is blanking, but it's putting that time and effort and that patience into it to get those large rewards like he's done.
100%. You put the time and effort in, you will reap the rewards in the end, won't you?
But that goes the same with lure fishing.
Yeah.
You know, lure fishing. Although you do get, it's more productive than bait fishing, where you can target the smaller stuff. If you want to scale down to catch something, you can almost pretty much go out and guarantee a sort of catch. But if you're going out for that target big species,
I think that's it. I think you've nailed it on the head there.
It's putting that time, and
if you're using big hooks, sometimes you're not catching what's in front of you. Where if you scale right down to a size 6 and there was a few dabs around, you'd be catching them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think, like, we all know Rob really well, and like Ryan said, the hours he puts in, what a reward for that man.
Yeah.
In all his lifetime of fishing, to actually achieve a British record, and he didn't just achieve a record, he absolutely smashed it.
Smashed the record.
And it's actually a pleasure and an honour to know the guy. He is a really, really nice fella and a top rod.
Oh, first rod's been out there for about half hour now. I haven't had much on it, so what I'm going to do now is bring the first rod in, grip lead first, and then we'll go for the bomb lead. What you'll find with these things, guys, they'll shoot straight up. They act as a lead lift, as Nick said previously. Fingers crossed, as I'm winding now, see him popping right back up. I'm dangling behind that now. There's the trace. And crabs or something, sadly had the rag off it, but it's done its job. You wouldn't believe that, would you? A few bits of shingle in there for it's dragged along the seabed, but he's an absolutely cracking way of presenting a bait at range with soft baits. You wouldn't be able to do that normally, and I think it's a fantastic little gadget, to be fair. The first ones that ever come out were good, but these have been looked at. They've seen folks with the original, and to be fair, I think they're really all you need. So let's go and get the other one in now. Okay then, as we said before, you can use this for a lot of different baits. I'm going to present a sand eel now. Though this is a frozen sand eel, but no different than using large. So what we can show you now, like I fished for in a team, when you're fishing a team with live sand eel, you just want to put the hook up the back of its head, on top of its neck. When fishing like that, a lot of guys use really small hooks, which that means when fishing like that, the sand eel can take control over the hook. So if you use like a big 3/0 hook, it's going to weight the sand eel down when it's moving live. Using a smaller hook, and I've seen guys do it before where I've been using a 3/0 in the tide, and one guy said to me, you use one of these little match hooks, and as long as it's going to hook into the fish, you'll still catch them. And what happens is then, where you put the little hook over the back of the top of the sand eel can still move around, so it's moving around freely. Deadly for rays, you know what I mean? But here we got here now is a sand eel, so I'm going to put this on as I would a normal ray bait. I'm going to cut him down a little bit. Bait elastic. It just goes to show what different baits you can actually use in these bait delivery systems. Big baits, small baits. Right, so what I'm going to do now is whack that straight into the bait capsule. Same again as Nick said earlier on, I'm just going to coil this around now. There's lots of different ways of doing it, guys. I just simply get that like that, put that in there like that, and then tuck him right into the top. I don't push it all the way in. I just obviously lay him like that. So now it's just resting there. So as that hits the seabed, hits the water surface, the water flies up this through and then goes straight out through, leaving the sand deal well away from the lead. So we'll get him out now. Then we're going to go over to Nick, and he's going to do the same sort of rig up, but with a squid bait.
Alright guys, right, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to show you that I'm going to put a whole squid on, a 3/0 hook, into the bait tube. There it is. So just give me a minute. As Andy said with the sand eel, everybody's got their own way of baiting up. Everybody's got their own sort of cocktails they use. And I'd imagine that with black lug and squid on its own, crab, ragworm, squid and lugworm, all good baits, and they'll all go in this tube and you'll be able to present it at distance. So I've threaded the squid on, get the old nickel elastic as they call it, wind that one right on. I'll show you a little trick in a minute which a lot of people don't do. But I don't believe in mummifying a bait too much. But what I do believe is leaving the end of the hook, the main part, showing. Don't mask this. If you mask it, guys, you'll mask the bite. With elastic, 5 times around your finger, pull, done. Never come undone. Put that one in the tube, like so. And then coil these right. So what I do is I make little circles here like so, and just try and grab the coil hold. I'll try and keep them as tight as I can. It's personal preference really. I mean, end of the day you can do it any way you want as long as you get the coils in the tube. And then I push them down with the bait. And guys, I'm ready to rock and roll with this one. So this is the 6-ounce Tronix bait delivery system. And we'll get this one out now and we'll see if the whole squid does get us something. Hopefully it might even pull us in a dogfish. It's not a fish everyone likes, but it'd be nice to pull something in the day.
Okay, for rod number 2, we've got the bomb lead on here now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reel it into this one now, just to show you that lead coming right up to the surface. This is what we're talking about with our trace line. As you can see, I've got well over 5 foot. Well, it's bigger than me actually. It's probably maybe 6.5 foot of trace line going onto a single ragworm. You could use sand eel, you could use anything, crab, anything. And it's a perfect way of presenting that bait. It's just going to come out of the delivery system and especially the place. Lots of live rag at distance on the beach. Do I need to say no more? Perfect bait and a perfect gadget to enable you to fish like that. So let's go and bait it up now. Okay, so what do you really think of them?
Well, yeah, look, at the end of the day, it says that it delivers bait at distance, even in close. The bait does eject from the tube. The problem we've had, and we'll show you in a minute when we reel one in, is where the tube sits on the lead. It doesn't stay there, guys, it comes off, and that's no good. Reeled one in just now and it was just hanging off. So I think personally Tronix are going to need to look at that.
Glue them?
I don't know, see, I don't know if super glue works on lead. They're going to have to think of something. Going back to the original device, they had a few problems with it. I wouldn't say major problems. One, what I liked with them, they made a short one, like the ones we've been using, and a long one. So you could, like, when you're chopping up bits of ragworm, bits of fish bait and that, just to sort of pre-bait the area you're fishing in, where you drop your live bait into, there was plenty of room in the tube. And the tubes are a little bit wider, but then they had trouble with it being a bit brittle, because after using it for a while, they were just breaking. There was chunks coming off them. It was like a really brittle type of plastic. So what, they actually listened to the anglers. I did a review on it for a magazine. And yeah, the review went great, but we sent in our sort of, how can I say, our, not complaints, that would be the wrong way to put it, just our review. And we basically said it needs to be made thicker. The tube needs to be made thicker, stronger. And they actually went and done it, and they were brilliant. But then, you know, as all things with business, they stopped making them, and now we've got the new one out from Tronix. It'd be nice if they just made them longer and of a thicker tube, and also sorted out the bit on the weight, because we've fished with 5, I think, here. We've used the 4 ounce, the 5 ounce and the 6 ounce, and every one of them has come undone at the bottom. And it's not us. Some of the ones I pulled the wires out, didn't move the tube or nothing. I've just snipped them and just pulled out the other side. It was easy. That was so we could get it rolling around the seabed, basically. If it was a bit of current here, it would move around and the bait would follow it on a long trace, you know, the ragworms. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I think that's something that they need to look at.
Well, you just taped one of yours, didn't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, unfortunately I had a mishap. I went to cast and I caught it on the rock, just shattered a bit at the bottom. So what I did, I put it on the lead and I put electrical tape around it. I always carry some in my box.
And it's held.
And it's held it. But
it's still ejecting.
Yeah, the bait's still ejecting out of it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but at the end of the day, it's the only one I had left. Because the first 2 casts, as I said earlier, are cracked off. So there's 2 out there, guys, if you want to come and get them.
I've had 4 casts go off today. First 2 of rag, both come back perfect, no problem at all.
Yeah.
We put a sand eel bait out, and as that's come back, the actual capsule lid is lifted up, as we've seen, and the bait's come down through. So what you've had is, where my swivel is, it's done a loop basically and come back down the bottom, which isn't good. Obviously, if you get an half decent place on that, and without rubbing on the trace line, it's going to snap you off, isn't it? Yeah. There's no designs, I don't think, with these rigs.
No.
When the original device were made, there was 2 demonstrations on the website, one of which was a paternoster rig, where it just dropped down in, and the other one was a pulley. And they always said to go an extra 4 to 6 inches longer, so you had a bit of play in the line to help it lift, which was recommended. I think originally, when you got the device, you looked at that and you come up with your own way of using that rig. Yeah, by dropping the bait in the tube, Andy, coiling the line up, and putting the coils
I
believe that is probably the best way to use it.
I've never had a problem with it.
I know you have. I've used it
all the ones. Well, I've cast out only twice now, but the one that I've used, the one I repaired, and it's ejected both times. So I can't odds that. And Andy's reeled in twice, and his is ejected as well.
Every time. I've had no
so
problem.
It does eject the bait. We just got a problem with the way it's made, really.
It's just loose, it comes off loose.
Yeah. And as always, with Sea Angling Adventures, the reviews have got to be honest to you guys.
Yeah.
Because we don't want you going in the shop and paying £3.80, £3.40, £3.20, whatever they're charged for these device tubes, and you get problems with it. So that's why we do these reviews.
My thing would be where the lead comes down, because where the lead capsule comes down at the bottom, as it lifts up, there's like a circle there with a groove where it sits down on.
Yeah.
My thing would be maybe some tacks or something to initially clip it into the lead or stop the movement. but I don't think a glue would work on lead. I'm not sure.
Well, it's the salt water as well you got to look
I
at,
think there needs to be something made on the bottom of the capsule where actually fix it solid. Exactly the same, because the original device never had that problem, did it?
No, not at all. The only problem, as I said earlier, is just the brittleness of the first tubes that they made it with.
You were one of the first tackle testers for the original Mark 1.
Yeah, I did a feature for the magazine.
How did you find the original Mark 1 compared to the Mark 2 model?
The Mark 1 was brilliant, because as I said, they did it in 2 different lengths of tube.
They've done it with a big, they've done it with like you could put a squid in a sand.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, they were slightly bigger on the tube as well, but the Mark 2 was even better because they made it of a thicker material. Alright, a lot of guys were saying, oh, but it's all grey, you can't see into it. It really doesn't matter. It's not about how it looks, it's about what it does.
That's great.
And it
picking
worked
up something on the
perfectly.
seabed there. It's going to look no difference, that bit of slate on the seabed. No, it's not different at all.
Couldn't put it better than that.
No, it's there, isn't it? It's,
yeah.
With the see-throughness, you've got a Tronix Pro sticker on there, or you've got a device sticker, no matter what. You've got a logo which is going to stand out more than the greyness, as we just said there.
Yeah.
I think they're a cracking idea, a cracking invention. As we've seen, they do produce it, and they will catch you place on it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I mean, I've done it in the past with the device, as I said earlier. Obviously, we've only had these about a week and a half now, and it's not place season.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, like I said earlier, we might get a chance of getting a dab because it's getting a bit colder, but that looks like it's going to miss. But we came here just basically to make sure that when we were casting these, that they did eject the bait. They did at the other beach, and they have at this beach. So on that point, I'd say excellent buy. I think Tronix need to look at the bottom of it to see how they can sort that out, really, where the tube goes over the weight. It really needs to be looked at.
I would recommend for anglers, obviously when they're going out and using these, first of all, is to look at the ground they're fishing over, because obviously they're £3 each, over £3 each, and they're quite dear at the end of the day, and you don't want to be losing a lot of them, and they're ideal for beaches. I would say they are ideal off the rocks, because you used to fish the South Estuary with them.
Yeah, I fished the South Estuary and I fished the Bristol Channel, but as I explained yesterday, with the sharper cut in the tube, it acts like a lead lift. When you start reeling, it will bounce and it will come straight up, as Andy showed today, and that was just a normal one. That hadn't been trimmed at a steeper angle. Unfortunately, I left that one back in the shop today. I should have brought it.
You speed up with your reeling.
But as you reel in, faster, up it comes. It is absolutely brilliant for that.
I think the flumes are a bit smaller, don't you agree?
Yeah, they are. I mean, on the original device, I think, because the weight was more flattened round and not to a point, it was 4 flutes on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I mean, I never ever had a problem with the originals.
No.
I've only got a problem with the tube on this one.
Yeah, it's a new version of it. We'll go through it a little bit more.
We're going to be honest with you guys. We're not going to lie to you. You know, that's why we're here.
It's a cracking invention. I love the way behind it, where you can put soft baits like ragworm at distances you couldn't put them normally because they would blow. So you could present a bait at extreme range for people that can cast it.
A live bait.
And a live bait, which is playing around, as we see on the camera, as it's coming through on the beach at the beginning. The worms are going mad, and that's what these places are not going to be feeding on, and they're going to home up on that.
And that's the attractor of it moving.
Lug bait for cod in the winter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect bait, isn't it?
You can present nearly any bait with it. We've done squid, sand eel, ragworm so far.
What I like about that for cod, especially, if you're using like a black lud or a nice presented lug on a bait, you've got it out there. By the time that cod picks that bait up with that long flowing trace, that's got hooked, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
You ain't losing it. It's going straight back, bang, you've got the cod on.
You've got the fish.
Which I like. I think they're a good invention. I think what we should do is we should go back into the studio now and go through it in full depth with it in hand and say the good point. There's a lot of good points about it, I think.
Yeah. Happen again. Right guys, perfect chance to show you now. We've reeled it in. Do you see what I mean by the tube? I'll just untangle the line. It's ejected the bait, no problem. But what it has done, look, there's no way this is staying on there. So I reckon that every time this hits the water, as much as the water's rushing up these flutes and ejecting the bait, it's also pushing this off. So that's the bad design that we're on about.
obviously we've looked at this and we've had a problem, myself and Nick, with the tubes coming off in impacts, right? So we've obviously sat down with Ryan as well, and Ryan's not had that issue today. It's always come back until like that. So what we're going to do now is a little test. It might be the simple case that we're actually winding these up and power casting these, obviously we're putting them at range, and the impact of that is what's not taking it. So with a normal cast of say like 70 to 80 yards, not having no issues. So what we're going to do now is do a simple cast first, bring it in to see if that is what makes the difference with it. So first of all, I'm going to start with a basic overhead thump. I'm going to put no power into this, guys. I might be doing off the ground. How was that? No, I won't. I'll do an overhead thump. Right. It's gone out 90 yards, say. No effort at all. I'm going to bring this in now, straight away. As you can see now, it's come right up on the surface. We'll get right. So, the basic overhead thump, and it's all in prime condition. So what we're going to do now is wind him up and see if it has anything. Right. We've blasted that one out now. So what we do now is start bringing him back in. It was funny because me and Nick were sitting there talking then about him, and then Ryan brung his in. He said, to be honest, I've not had that trouble. So it just made me think that the reason they're coming off is for all the power which going in the cast. Me and Nick's been down here, obviously put them at distance with the pendulum cast, and Ryan sets him overhead thump, and it's not been blowing. I think Ryan was using one of these bait capsules on one rod, and one Gemini weight on the other. So that might be what the problem is. Having said that, it's still something to look at if that is the case, because obviously with a lot of the guys what are right into their fishing and obviously spent years practicing their casting and making it so they can put baits at distance to target some of these fish, they're going to only be using these devices. I say devices, more like bait capsules, it's a new word for them. But is this going to be the difference? So there we go. As you can see, it's come off. I don't think it's a big problem, to be fair. With the cast I've put on today, we're going to go back and have a big more depth and talk about this, but it's a simple case of clipping it back on. But I do see the problem, because if that goes down and the bait doesn't eject, my bait fell down through this, so it created a loop. Now, obviously this is the way that I've always learnt this way off Nick Panther as well. Obviously when the design first came out, it was a pulley rig and a pattern off the rig. I do think that is the best way to use this with coiling up the trace. It just enables one single long flowing trace, ideal for ragworm, ideal for ray, ideal for bass at range. It's back to the studio now.
Right guys, as you can see, we're back in the studio now at Seaview Angling, and we've given this a good old test. This Tronix bait delivery system. We have found a few problems with it. We want to be honest as we can with you. This is the smaller weighted one. I think this one's 3 ounce. This one's been fine. 4 ounce that one, is it?
Yeah, right. 5, 6.
It's been fine all day. Ryan's been using this one. and he's had no problem with it. Now we've noticed when me and Andy's been power casting, I'll show you mine first. It came in like this. It came in that way along the bottom. Now bearing in mind that I'd taken the wires out of this, alright, because I wanted it, as I explained earlier, to roll around if there was a bit of a current and move along the bank if there was, with the trace behind it. I said, and when I reeled in, I had that. I said, so, I don't know what it is. Maybe I think it could be the way we were casting. We weren't sure. So we set up a little setup for Andy to power cast out. He lobbed one out, done overhead thump, and then he really powered into a cast and smacked one out about 160, 170 yards. And when he reeled in, not only was his like that, but his trace line, as you can see, has come straight through it. Instead of coming out of the top, it's gone through the bottom. It's obviously some sort of design flaw in this, and I do believe, personally, because this is good, guys. All right, it's a good tool. Don't take this the wrong way, but I think personally, this piece here, where it goes onto there, needs to be, I don't know, maybe re-looked at, because I think with the power casting, I mean, it's absolutely flying through the air, no problem at all.
That's what they're meant for, though, Nick, is it?
Yeah.
It's meant for putting baits at
But obviously,
range.
when we, you know, when it's hitting the water out, 120 odd yards plus, this force of this hitting the water is obviously bringing the tube off. So, other than that, I can't see no problem with it. It really does the job. We've been using them all day. Alright, I've cracked off twice on the first two casts, so as I said earlier, they're out there still. But I put another one on, and yeah, it was okay. It was okay, and I just think that it does need to be redesigned on this bit where it joins the lead. You know, I'm just not happy about it, guys, because I don't want anyone paying the amount of money for this, or what we say, and you know, being disappointed with it. But it does deliver the bait at distance.
It's a cracking tool. For my personal opinions, and I've used it all day. The first two baits that come back perfect, no problem at all. Second time I casted it, obviously we had the same trouble as Nick just said, where these bits here had come off and twisted around, and as you've seen before, instead of the bait ejecting out this side, the bait, as it obviously hit, come down that way, and it was looped. So when I have my trace line, it's like that. So the fish are pulling against it. Any size of the fish, that's going to fray straight away in your line, which you don't want, definitely not at all. But I think it can be solved pretty quickly, and it's pretty easily. Like I think Ryan said at the time, he never had no problems at all, Ryan, with this today. And he was on about just putting like a little tack, what goes right into through the plastic and onto the lead, just to hold it. Now, I believe that is the issue, is to do with the power casting, as we've seen.
I think so, yeah, but you know, we can't 100% say it is
well,
that.
With first cast I put out, overhead thumb, second sim as Ryan was doing, and it come back intact. Power casted, come back, and it was pulled off. So I believe with that amount of power, as it's travelling through the air and obviously hits it at that speed, it's like hitting concrete sometimes, isn't it?
I suppose so, yeah. I mean, you know, you've got to allow for the height it's going as well.
That's coming out, which, to be honest, it still wasn't a problem. The traces were coming away, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't go like that. And as Nick said, he took the grips out, and what he would have found then, even though the grips were out, that lead would have been going like that, and that would have created a gripper, wouldn't it? Yeah. So that wouldn't have rolled around properly.
No, it would have dug into the shingle.
Yeah, I think that could be easily solved. Obviously, it's looked at. If someone said to me, "Would you buy one of these and use on the beach as they are?" Yes, I would.
Yeah, I suppose I would.
9 times out of 10,
if it was.
I think it would do the job, especially the gripper. If you're going to have that gripped up, if that comes off, it's not really a problem. You come back. It's a bit like an imp, is a way to look at it. That imp's basically holding it back, and then you're connecting it back up. It's nothing to do that.
No.
But if you have the issue we had, where it's falling down through, then that's at the end of the day, guys. When you're putting baits out there, you want to make sure that they're able and they're put away so a fish can get hold of it. If you're fishing constantly and been left out in a bait for like half hour, you bring it back in, it's all tangled up. That's not doing its job correctly.
Yeah.
But I think it's a perfect gadget. At the end of the day, it's, as we said before, it's for putting baits at range.
At range,
soft
yeah.
baits. and that's where power cast him,
works.
and it does work perfectly. It's nice to see him back on the market.
Yeah.
I think Tronix Pro have done very well with what they've done.
Yeah.
It's the first go at it as well, so like many things, even the original devices, they were looked at a couple of times until they come up with the finished product.
Yeah. I think personally, the only thing I'd like to see is these made a bit longer.
Different sizes? Would you like
maybe
to see
inch and a half longer, with the different class weights on them, and maybe just a slightly sharper, steeper cut in the plastic, because we did film Andy reeling in. We just cast one out on its own, no bait or nothing in it, and he reeled in and it popped up quite a way out. It was skipping along the surface like a popper, as if you were spinning and that. So yeah, they do work like a lead lift without a doubt. But obviously, on your first cast, if that happens, you're not going to be very happy, are you? Well, I mean, we connected it down, we put bait back in it, we fired it out, it still went okay. When we pulled it back in again, it was out again. So you don't really want to be doing that all the time, fellas, do you?
No.
So anyway, it's been an honest look at it, honest review. You've got
what would you overall, if you come in the shop,
I would buy them
that for over £3,
I would buy them
straight away.
Yeah,
I would as well.
Well, you know how much I like them.
Yeah,
but I want to be honest to
would you say they match
people.
up to the original device?
Right, that's a good question. Right, I think this plastic should be made thicker and longer.
Would you say
steeper cut in it, but other than that, the actual design of it, apart from this piece, which I'm sure Tronix will hopefully have a look at and maybe solve, then
the original had different sizes, though, if you remember. They won this size and they had a
they made two. They made two sizes. Like I said, when the first one came out, the clear tube, they had we had problems with it being brittle and everything. But that was a short one like that, steeper cut in it as well, and a big long one, which were great. I bought between you and me, I bought all the long ones because I like to put all the little bits of bait in, then the bait on top, the live bait, coil up, in and out. So I've got, I'm sort of baiting it like a swing feeder.
Say if you were trying to get a live sand deal and that is too small, where the bigger ones, what you used to use, would be perfect for it.
Yeah, they used to take a live
but
sand
that to me is perfect for a place bait. And it's nice to see him back on the market, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's doing the job. You're always going to have bits you can add and make things better, aren't you? And for a base, I think they've done really well.
I
like the way they constructed the back in, because the original wasn't built in like that, was it? That's built completely in.
Yeah. Well, the original wire that come up was weaved in and out of the tube.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, with this one, I say unfortunately, but fortunately, it's in this slot. So apart from this happening, other than that, it's a sturdy piece of kit, without a doubt.
10 out of 10, what would you give it, Nick, for fishing capability?
Fishing capability, I would give that, for putting a soft bait out at range, I would give that 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
Yeah.
Overall product?
I would like to see these products made without wires, as well as wires, because as I said, I pulled my wires down, cut them and pulled them out, because I like it to roll around a bit, depending where I'm fishing.
Well, you're fishing for a place, you want it, you move
product wise, brilliant.
Brilliant.
I'm glad to see it back in the market. When I came in to Seaview Angling last week, and I just happened to walk up, as you do, you look around, guys, don't you? Don't mean you're going to buy nothing, but I was looking at the hooks. I thought, I need, I need some stuff. You just pick up a few bits, and I looked down on the floor and seen these 4 boxes with these in, and I was in there like a limpet. I could not believe they were back on the market. Now, I know some of you that I spoke to on Facebook said that you still got some of the originals. All I can say is, lucky guys, hang on to them, boys, all right? And hopefully, if, this gets improved a little bit more, then we'll all be buying them.
I'd agree with what you said.
I'd highly recommend them.
I would give it 10. It's a cracking first start to it, and I would take. The first 2 casts were perfect. Went out, long flow and trace, come back every time, no issues with it. It was second one, and then we started pumping the casts out. After talking to Ryan, me and Nick were obviously set up along the beach, and Ryan said, I've never had no problem with mine all day. And then I thought to myself, I wonder what that is then. Maybe we'll try doing different styles of casting. And it was true what it said, but at the end of the day, what this is used for should be able to take power casting, I think. It's meant for putting baits at range, and live baits at range, which you can't do normally.
Yeah.
If it's only meant for putting baits at, say, 70 to 100 yards, you can do that without using one of these, without blowing it.
I suppose you could do if you fix spool wheel.
Overhead thumb, just a nice easy cast, without pendulum casting, but that's meant to be putting baits at a range, I think. I don't know what your opinion on it is.
Yeah, we were putting live ragworm baits 130, 140 yards out.
Yeah.
with a really good cast, guys. You know what I mean? And it did deliver. It did eject a bait. All right, we had problems with that one, we know, but I don't know what it is. It's just this bit that I'm not happy about. So
I think it's easily solved.
I think with the improvements, if they do it, and
I think what Ryan said,
it would be no good putting glue around this.
No, I think what Ryan said,
you're dealing with salt water.
To be honest, where it's set up here, you could actually do it yourself and put a bit into that.
But why would you have to go in a shop and pay for something
it's
and end up having to do something to it yourself?
I know. I think it's something they may probably be looking at, but I agree with you, 9 out of 10 for overall. And would I rate it to someone every time? Perfect way to fish for place, I believe. A very good way of fishing for cod. Any way where you want to put a live bait at distance, that's the thing to have, boys and girls. And yes, there was a couple of problems with it, but overall, I think recommend it. Really good.
I mean, Sea Angling Adventures do recommend it. Let's just hope that Tronix can sort out a few imperfections that we found today.
The Mark II. Well, that's the tackle test. So on to the next one then, mate.
Yeah, it's been the longest weekend I've ever had, mate.
2 days on that. Tight lines,
Cheers, guys.